What's up, nerds? I haven't put out a video in like 2 weeks or something like that. School started up, and I just got super busy. For a couple of days, I just didn't have anything to talk about. But, yeah. So I got kind of busy, but I'm going to try and get back into it. So, first thing I want to touch on is something that I could talk about for a long time, which is Thor in Endgame. Yeah. As I'm sure you can tell from my profile picture, I'm quite a fan of Thor. He's one of my favorite characters. He always has been. I don't know why, I just think he's cool. Even in the earlier MCU movies, when he was, kind of bland and not very well written, I still liked him just because I was like, hey, that's Thor, I like him. They're not writing him all that interestingly, but I like him. And then Ragnarok came around and he was totally revitalized, and he became one of the fan favorites. It was always really about Cap and Iron Man, and then that came out and everyone was like, holy crap, Thor's awesome. And then Infinity War came out and they were like, holy crap, Thor's awesome. Then Endgame happened, and it's like, holy crap, that did not last long. So I'm going to do my best to keep my tangent somewhat linear instead of just going off on stuff. But so he had this epic development in Ragnarok and in Infinity War where he was just losing everything. In the span of a couple days, dude lost everything that he cared about. It's horrible. But in terms of how Thor was represented, his power and everything, it was awesome. The end fight of Ragnarok, his entrance in Wakanda, whew, those were awesome. They're just freaking cool. And it was like, alright, this guy is not to be messed with. He's the best. He's the most powerful. No doubt about it. And he's earned it too. And then they took it a step farther by just neutering him in Endgame. They turned him into a joke. I get what they were trying to do, which was humanize him even more than they had already done, which, in my opinion, he had been humanized pretty well in Infinity War. And his conversation with Rocket, man, I felt that. What more could I lose? I was like, dang, that's true. What else? And then he did lose more. And they just turned him into a joke. I know they weren't trying to, per se, but they made a bunch of fat jokes and made a bunch of he was just a slob. And it would have been one thing if he still retained his godlike abilities. But he really didn't. And that's something that people like to say. They're like, see, but his depression, it didn't make him any weaker. I mean, he really didn't do a whole lot in the end fight. Compared to what he did in Wakanda, he didn't do jack. Cap did more than he did. Don't get me wrong, that moment's awesome, and I will never complain about that. Seeing Cap wield Mjolnir is epic. But Thor should have realistically destroyed Thanos in a matter of seconds. He had Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, and realistically he should have had the same power that he'd had, since Ragnarok, which I would argue he potentially has the Odin Force, but he just didn't. He summoned them both to it, and I was like, oh yeah, Thor's getting geared up. And his beard and his hair looked cool. It looked very classic Viking. He was still, fat, and so I wasn't able to take him as seriously because that's not Thor to me, but I was like, okay, he's gonna kick some Titan booty, and he's gonna redeem himself. No, he didn't. He really didn't do anything that impressive. He did the thing where he smashed the two of them together and shot a lightning bolt, but it was just to juice up Iron Man. It wasn't to annihilate Thanos. He tossed Mjolnir up in the air and smacked it with Stormbreaker, which looked super cool, but that didn't even do anything. It got blocked by Iron Man's body. And that's really it. Thanos was beating him in a 1v1, which is nonsense. Thor should have flown up in the sky and axed him. Not to mention, lightning him! That's your shtick! Electrocute him from the sky. Dead. Done. Boom. But they didn't. And then in the final battle, he really didn't have any moments, like after that with Thanos, and it was the war. He really didn't seem to do much, as far as I could tell. Granted, there was a lot going on, but, there wasn't that scope of, like, when he just destroyed a huge wave of the Outriders in Infinity War, or whenever he tore through all those spaceship thingies. There wasn't anything like that. He was just another guy on the battlefield doing stuff. And it's just so disappointing. I'm not even going to get into the fact that they're probably going to ruin his character even more in stupid Thor Love and Thunder, which, like, how could they possibly make him worse? But I'm pretty sure they're going to, but I'm not going to go off on that. I'm just going to stick with what happened in Endgame. He lost all those things in Infinity War and Ragnarok, and then he lost his freaking character development. He was no longer the strongest, honestly, not really even close, as he was portrayed. I will still argue that till the day I die. He is stronger than Captain Marvel, more powerful than Captain Marvel. Anyone who disagrees, I don't care. You're wrong. But he was not portrayed as such. He lost that. He gave up his kingship to Valkyrie for some... That's the next part that I wanted to touch on, is the fact that, I'm going to go off a little bit, but it'll come back to it. Whenever he goes back in time and he sees his mother, first off, that was a really touching scene. I really liked Frigga initially, and until Infinity War, when Loki died, her death and funeral scene, I stood, was the most emotionally impactful scene in the entire MCU, even though that movie gets a lot of hate. Anyway, I thought it was really sweet seeing him be able to go back and see his mom, and after everything, I was like, this is nice. And then her little quote, it didn't bother me until the very end, but anyway, so after all that, he's like, wait, he summons Mjolnir. He's like, I'm still worthy. And that should have been, a jaw-dropping moment of, okay, he's gonna do this. After everything, he's still worthy. As much as I love the character of Thor, at that point, I don't think he should have been worthy. He basically abandoned his people. He didn't physically leave them, but he did nothing. He just said, oh, I lost. Okay, I'm gonna give up and play Fortnite and drink beer for 5 years now. You, random chick, you can run things. So, as much as I wanted to see him dual-wield Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, I don't think he should have been worthy. He had done nothing up to that point to be deserving of it. Within the past 5 years, all he'd done was be incredibly selfish. Not arrogant like he was before, but selfish, which I would argue is worse than arrogance in terms of, worthiness for a superhero. But yeah, so I don't think he even should have been worthy of holding Mjolnir. And in terms of with the Valkyrie thing now, so you segue, I'm smart. It's like after all that, he's like, okay, I've gone through my pain, I've suffered in my anguish. I'm gonna leave now. Bye. Valkyrie, you can take over. I'm sorry, but that didn't give any sort of, not resolution, but it didn't really help. He'd spent the past 5 years giving up on his people, and then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna give up on my people again, but this time I'm happier. So it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. I'm gonna let this chick run it. Even though she has no right to be on the throne. Also, they keep calling her the King of Asgard, and that's so annoying, because she's a girl! She'd be a queen, not a king! But that's irritating to me. That after everything, he's like, you know what? I need to go find myself. Like, man, shut up. You had 5 years to find yourself. Look where I got you. And that's where I'm going to go with the line from Frigga. You know, everyone fails at who they're supposed to be. It's like the true measure of someone's worth is figuring out who you are. I think it was something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong. And while I thought that was a good line at first, after him saying it and, you know, giving up his kingship and everything, I was like, no! It should have been, everyone fails at who they're supposed to be. But the true measure of, you know, a hero is constantly striving to reach it, even if you never will actually make it. It would have been almost the same thing. But it wouldn't have just been him throwing away, you know, his leadership. It really bothers me. It's so out of character. It's just wrong. And in terms of other things that could have been done just a little bit different, that would have made a huge impact for me, would be the whole deal with, you know, him going off and being depressed and everything. To an extent, I'm okay with that because of what it was trying to represent. But the way they did it was terrible. He should have been an angry, scary drunk. And he shouldn't have been fat because that, unfortunately, maybe, but that immediately makes it a joke whenever he used to be all muscly. It's just, you know, people immediately start laughing after seeing that scene when it should have been a harrowing moment, but it wasn't. I would have much preferred, and I think it would have done a lot better for his character, if he was an angry, you know, violent drunk. And so the reason that the Hulk was the one that was sent to get him wasn't because they were best pals. It was because he was the only one that might be able to withstand if, you know, if Thor had a mental break and started going crazy. He could have been this dark, brooding character, you know, in anguish from everything he lost. Instead of, I like beer now and Fortnite because I failed. No, don't bring it up. Now I'm going to cry. Like, come on. It's just, I get it. They're trying to humanize him, but humanize him in a way that's still fitting with the character. If they had made him dark, in pain, everyone was afraid. It wasn't that he had directly just abandoned his people. It was that he had to leave, or he may have caused some serious issues and potentially hurt someone. That'd be so much more fitting, and they could have done pretty much the identical character arc. But they didn't. They're like, he's fat now and he plays Fortnite, which also the fact that Fortnite is still a thing in 5 years is terrifying in and of itself. But yeah, just a couple things to have been done slightly different would have made his arc there so much better. Because if they wanted to rehash that, let's bring him down, humanize him, do that, okay. I mean, it's kind of a rehashing, but if they did it right, okay. But they did not do it right in the slightest. At all. And then he didn't step up to what he's supposed to be, what he's been proven to be. It wouldn't be like he was depressed, now look at what he can do. There's not really much escalating past the things he did in Infinity War. It was awesome. Even just reaching that afterwards, it would have been awesome in and of itself. You could be like, all right, he went through some serious crap, and now he's back. Now Thor is back. But he wasn't. He just wasn't. They sidelined the crap out of him. I think mainly for Captain Marvel to be like, look, now she's the strong one. She also has the personality of a soggy plank of wood, but I'm actually not even looking forward to the next Thor movie because I don't want to see him get castrated yet again. Like, physically, that's not possible. You can only get castrated once. Once they gone, they gone. But they're going to grow him back and cut him off again. And it breaks my freaking heart. Because he was one of my favorites. He was my favorite in the MCU. And then probably Scarlet Witch, but he was first. And then he got awesome, and everyone loved him, and I was like, yeah, right? He's cool, right? Thor. It was cool! And they were like, wait a minute, no, we need to make
we need to make Captain Marvel the strongest because he's a white man, and that's bad. So we need to ruin him.
It boggles me mind that the same people that wrote Infinity War wrote Endgame. And that it was done, like, simultaneously. They were working on Endgame while they were doing Infinity War. I don't understand how they could screw up their own writing and development that badly. I could go on about this for a long time, but I think I covered the main bases that I want to. It's just... that in and of itself is my main issue with Endgame. I have a couple other issues here and there. I'll have another video later on Captain America and the way that his ending was, but for the most part, my only real issue with Endgame was the treatment of Thor. So that'll wrap up this video for now. It's a bit of a long run, but it's a close topic to my heart. I'll try and be a little bit more regular again now that I'm figuring out how my schedule is going to work. But like this, if you like Thor and think that Captain Marvel sucks, and subscribe so you can hear me talk about more nerd stuff. There's been a lot of different news, actual things that have come out recently, so I'll probably put that. But yeah, that'll cover it for now, and I'll catch you guys later.